Hi, everyone. I'm Cindy Perlin. I'm the founder and CEO of the Alternative Pain Treatment Directory. And this is one of what I hope will be a series of Facebook Lives about different chronic pain treatments that you may not have heard about that can really improve your well being. So, tonight we're going to be talking about pulsed electromagnetic frequency therapy. And what it can do is really enhance your health in so many ways. I know that most of the people in the audience are people suffering from chronic pain, or at least interested in ways to help people with chronic pain. And there's a significant amount of research out there that validates that this particular therapy is useful for chronic pain and for so many other things. So I'm here with JoAnn Zymler. JoAnn is someone who was suffering with chronic back issues for a very long time, and happened almost accidentally upon this treatment, and it really helped her. And she is also, besides being a chronic pain patient, she's now a member of the Association of PEMF professionals. So welcome, JoAnn.
Thank you so much, Cindy. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. And I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and the audience about this very important topic. And I just want to acknowledge you and the work that you do in sharing alternative pain therapies with the world. And it's certainly admirable all that you have done behind the scenes to make this available to your audience. So I really, really appreciate that.
No, you're welcome. So what is PEMF?
Yeah, so a lot of people aren't familiar with it. Maybe they've seen the initials, but it stands for pulsed electromagnetic fields or frequencies. And basically, it's energy therapy. They're electromagnetic signals that penetrate through tissues and they can reach every single cell in the body. And these pulses, if you will, interact with the body at various levels: circulatory level, cellular level, other fields and that it influences too. I'm going to talk mostly about cellular and circulatory because those are the ones that I think are perhaps the most important for right now to mention. So pulsed electromagnetic fields at the cellular level, what are they doing? Well, they stimulate, for one, the mitochondria, which is a little organelle inside of the cell, to produce more ATP. And that's basically the currency that every cell needs in order to keep it healthy, keep the cell membrane strong, and promote healing at the cellular level. At a circulatory level, these fields are also influencing something. The rhythmic, many people don't know about this, but everybody knows about arterioles and venules. They've probably heard of capillaries too, but you might not have heard of arterioles and venules. They're the small branches off of the arteries and the veins that are pre and post capillary. Okay. It's essential for blood flow to get into the capillaries. Otherwise, you are not delivering oxygen and nutrients into the surrounding tissue and removing metabolic waste. Well, what is happening with this field as I'm talking about these blood vessels? Well, as it turns out, there is a rhythmic expansion and contraction of these very, very small blood vessels. And they happen about 3 to 5 times a minute in normal, healthy, young, not stressed adults. Okay, that's the norm. However, over time, many, many things can influence this rhythmic movement and slow them down tremendously so. And so when under the influence of a pulsed electromagnetic field, it can help return this rhythmic movement and act as a cardiac assistance, essentially helping the heart to pump the blood through the amazing 75,000 miles of blood vessels so that we can get that circulatory system operating at the best level possible. So basically, that's some of the things going on behind the scenes with PEMF, but I like to explain it with something that might be a little bit more familiar. So we all know that the Earth produces a geomagnetic field. Because we're familiar with a compass, it points to magnetic north. So we know that field exists throughout the entire Earth, but we don't see it, and yet we benefit from it. Similarly, we don't see radio waves, but we can hear music when we're tuned into a certain frequency because that music, that sound interacts, or that field, if you will, that's invisible, it interacts with our eardrums. It vibrates and sends messages to the brain, and the brain interprets it as information, really. Music, voices, sounds, etc. can warn us or soothe us. So that's what's happening with the radio wave. So that brings us back to the P in PEMF, okay? Pulsating electromagnetic fields are also information and energy that's being transmitted. And the inventors, if you will, of this technology discovered that by pulsating an electromagnetic field around you, especially those that are, say, precisely tuned, because that's important, you're in effect producing a similar effect as if you were a person who walked barefoot on the ground for 20 miles a day.
20 miles a day. Wow.
20 miles
Now,
a day.
I know, let me just interrupt you for a second, because I know that we hear of EMFs, electromagnetic fields, as a bad thing, from cell phone towers, from electrical devices in our home. So can you talk about the difference between PEMF and EMF, the kind that we're supposed to be concerned about?
Yes, and although I'm not an electrical engineer, so I'll give it to you in lay terms as I understand it. But we're talking about a spectrum, an electromagnetic field spectrum. So there's a low end of the spectrum and a high end of the spectrum. It's the high end of the spectrum that are those damaging EMFs, cell towers, etc., microwaves. These are things that are way up in, if you will, to the right, if you're looking at an electromagnetic spectrum, that can be harmful if you're exposed to them for any length of time. But as you go down and you're influenced by, let's say, FM radio signals, well, we're not harmed by FM radio. I think we'd all know by now if FM radio was harmful to us, right? Mm-hmm. So the PEMF fields that we're talking about, at least in the devices that are safe to use and that I use, are way down the other end of the spectrum that couldn't really harm you. They just couldn't, because they're very interesting. They're approximately at the same microtesla, or if you will, or power intensity as the geomagnetic field that the Earth produces. So the geomagnetic field of the Earth is somewhere between 22 and 67 microtesla. Mm-hmm. And the one that I use is between 10 and 100 microtesla. So you can see it's very much within this range, if you will, of very safe. You can walk on the Earth, you can use this product or therapy.
So I have heard, about this thing called grounding, where you go outside barefoot and you stand on the grass or whatever, yes. That's very helpful, but that's not always very practical, like in the middle of the winter, or when, you don't have grass around your home or whatever, or you don't have the time. So, and then you're saying that it's the equivalent of spending a very long time doing that outside.
That's right. So if you invert it, right, instead of walking barefoot on the ground, and yes, grounding, that's exactly right. Being in touch with the earth has beneficial properties. We've probably all heard of grounding before. And who can walk 20 miles a day? I don't know. Some people might, but it wouldn't be me. So if you invert that, right, if you stay still, if you lay on one of these mats, right, then they can take the signal and pulsate it over you so fast, like 1,200 stimulations per second. It's as if you, in an 8-minute session, in one 8-minute session, it's like you're doing your body a similar amount of good as walking 20 miles. Amazing, just kind of mind-blowing, if you ask me.
So tell us what this did for you, like what was going on with you, and then what you saw as the results, because I think that's what people are waiting for. you know.
Okay, sure.
Because
Yeah, what's the background here? What happened to me? Well, you were mentioning in your introduction that I was having back issues, and yes, they were pretty severe. Um, Irony here, little irony here. My husband is a chiropractor. Okay, you can chuckle if you like. But my issues were really beyond the ability of chiropractic or any other modality that I tried, for that matter, to resolve.
what else did you try?
Oh, good question. So I tried acupuncture. I tried some laser therapy. I tried some physical therapy, um, massage therapy, attraction therapy, lots of different things that were out there that I could find and know about. I tried them, and I really have to give a plug to acupuncture. I thought out of all the ones that I did, and I'm not putting any of the other ones down at all, because they all have a place and time, right? But for me and my issue, acupuncture was the one that worked the best for me. However, I would have to go in 3 times a week for the rest of my life in order to maintain some semblance of a normal life again, which I didn't have at this point that I'm talking about. I really couldn't even walk more than 50 feet without having to stop, rest, stretch, that kind of feeling. So yeah, there I was. I was faced with choices, and I went to a number of different medical professionals to say, hey, they gave me MRIs, they looked at the results. Yeah, it was significant. What was happening was significant.
Were
The
they
choice.
saying your MRIs were abnormal?
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Yes, definitely.
I
Yeah.
show.
They're not good. I kind of have issues going up and down the whole spine. I don't know if we'll get into it. My husband can probably tell you. My husband can tell you more. But yeah, what the choices I was being given, I had an option of surgery. Didn't like that one. I had the option of taking pain meds so I could deal with it. I didn't like that one. I had the option of just living with it. I didn't like that one either. So that began the search for something else that had to be out there. I didn't know about your database. Eventually, we stumbled upon it, which is great. A friend of mine, however, came into the picture at this time that I was going through all of this, and she introduced me to the product she used, which is called Beamer. And I had no idea what this thing was, but she saw what I was going through, and I was spending 4 days with her. My husband and I were up there. And she said, look, just go lay on my bed. I have it on my bed. I'll be right up and I'll set it for you. And I'm like, I don't know what this thing is, but I trust her because she's my friend. She was actually a former patient of my husband's, but moved away. And I tried everything else. So why not try it? That's what I thought. And the crazy thing is, the results that I had were nearly immediate. It just took 2 times for me to dramatically notice the difference and feel better. So that blew my mind. And I love telling people that story, but I hate telling people that story too. It's kind of a double-edged sword, and I'll tell you why. Everybody wants Polaroid success, right? And if you're old, you know what I mean by Polaroid success. We'll just say instant success. It doesn't normally happen that way. I just happen to be one of the people that it did. I understand later on. I came to know that it's only really 5 or maybe at the most 10% of the people that notice something in the first week. So to have it happen in 2 times is quite remarkable. Most people don't notice the effect of it till about 3 or 4 weeks in of using it twice a day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was just thrilled. So for me, I feel like even though my results weren't typical, it's wonderful. I had to tell everybody. It changed. I got my life back. And I had to do research, though. But I shouldn't say I got my life back yet, because that was just my one time up there. That's when I started continuing my research about now this particular, what is PEMF? Which PEMF device should we use? There's a number of PEMF devices out there. A number of them, they all make some kind of claim, right? I mean, of course, every product makes some claim about it. Some of them, maybe they're all true to some extent. So we went on an investigation, myself and 2 other people who are suffering kind of like me. And we came upon the decision that, yeah, we're going to take this one registered as a class 1 device, which we were assured meant it was safe. So by the FDA, and I was very happy about that. You were talking about EMFs. Another thing that helped us realize that this particular one is safe is because it was in that low frequency range, and some of them are higher powered, and you do have to be more careful. This one, you pretty much can't hurt yourself on it. Other ones, you should be careful when you're, dialing the settings, So that's another thing that attracted us to it, the ease of use of it. So that's kind of how I came upon it. It's been reclassified since then to class 2 device that's cleared. So now we're even assured of its efficacy. And the 2 things that the FDA says we can claim, it does many other things. However, the ones we can claim here in the United States, I even have to say that because you can make other claims in Canada about it or in Europe. In the United States, we can say for sure it improves both muscle performance and local blood flow. And we can make that because of the data and the medical studies and the numerous studies, really, that have been done and published. PubMed.gov is a good research, by the way, for anybody who's on this call. PubMed.gov. Go in and search PEMF and then search PEMF with Beamer, because you'll see that Beamer has published medical studies about it exactly, not just generic PEMF. Actually, if you don't mind, I'd like to explain what I mean by generic PEMF.
Sure.
Okay, thanks. So generic PEMF, a PEMF device. So a PEMF wave is kind of like a radio wave. It's a carrier wave, okay? It's delivering something to the body that's beneficial. What Beamer has done is superimposed on top of the carrier its own patented signal. It's very precisely tuned, and that's what inductively stimulates these small blood vessels that we were talking about and the ATP. And it does it really a lot better than other devices. That's all I'm going to say. I did the research. I'm not going to sit here and just say mine's the best, yours isn't. I'm not about that. You do the research, please. Everybody out there, do the research yourself. But the carrier wave is generic PEMF, and that alone is beneficial. But when you add a layer of the special tuned signal on top, you're essentially doubling the beneficial effect. So that was really an eye-opener for me as well.
Yeah, so, just to put this in perspective, there are other PEMF devices, and there's a little one, that gives localized benefits that, I've promoted in the past, called the OSKA, OSKA. And maybe I can get it on screen here and show it to people. I always get, and it's something you can wrap around a joint or a muscle. It comes with a little Velcro band that holds it. You get very localized effects, and it's less expensive because it's smaller. It's less powerful because, unlike the Beamer, which you use 8 minutes a day, you would use this for maybe 90 minutes a day, but you can walk around with it. So it's considerably less expensive, because you'll find if you look into the Beamer that it is an investment. But I believe in investing in my health. I personally was disabled with chronic pain for several years when I was just 25 years old. And I was being told that, nobody knew what was wrong with me in the conventional realm. I was told that there was nothing they could do for me. I just have to live with it probably for the rest of my life. And, I had no money at that time, but I, came across something that sounded promising and went for it. In my case, it was biofeedback. And, the few dollars I spent for it, just changed my life, got me back to, productive life. At that point, I was what I would call very highly motivated, because I was in pain 24/7, couldn't function, felt like my life was over. And, this investment turned things around. So when people are evaluating these things, it's very important to keep it in perspective. I often say that I would beg, borrow, and steal, to get, some of the things that have been helpful for me, if I didn't have the money. And I'm not telling anybody to, steal. That's just,
But I get it.
but,
I get it.
you think something's going to work for you. And I have to ask you, if somebody were to invest in the Beamer, is there any kind of money back guarantee if someone doesn't find?
Great questions. Yes. Yeah. In fact, that was another reason why we selected Beamer, is because two things. One is it has a 3-year warranty. That's not what you asked me, but I wanted to say that because a lot of devices don't have a 3-year warranty. And even after the warranty is over, they'll replace the parts for about half cost. So that's amazing. I wish cars would do that. You're right. Yes, there is in a 1-month period, 4 weeks essentially, of you getting it, you're trying it. Let's say you get it because you're interested, you want to invest in your health, but you want to make sure it's working for you. I totally encourage you to get it. Use it for a couple of weeks. You can use it up to, well, by the 4th week, by the end of the 4th week, if you're not going to keep it, you send it back. And they really don't ask any questions. And they'll even pay for the postage. There's a small restocking fee that you'll need to pay, normal. In fact, I charge something even more than the restocking fee if you're going to rent my device for a month. So I tell everybody, why rent one? Might as well just get the new one that comes to you. Don't rent my used one. And send the new one back if you don't want it. And nobody sends them back. But, it's a very small percentage of people, because by the 4th week, you're going to start to notice the things that you really want to see happen.
So you've been talking about your personal experience, and I understand that your chiropractor husband wanted to say a few words about his perspective.
Sure.
As a chiropractor, and what what his thoughts are. You could say he has a competing therapy, but
no, not competing at all.
Well, I think that some professionals would think, I'm not going to talk about anything else because I want everybody to come to me. And so, I'm not going to, talk about that or tell people about that because I just want them to keep coming to me. But, my perspective is that chronic pain is a very complex thing for many people. So, you often need to bring a number of therapies to bear on it.
That's
and as
right.
you know from your personal experience, even having a chiropractor husband, that that's not going to work for everybody. So,
this is Dr. Phil, the original.
Phil, not the other weird guy.
No,
a different weird guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So, Dr. Phil, what can you tell us?
I could go on and on, but I saw what it did for my wife, and then I did a lot of research, and it was mind-boggling because it's incredible. One of the statements that caught my mind, and again, if I sound like a salesman, stop me, or if I'm going off on a tangent, but I saw in print that it's the most researched physical therapy modality in the world. So then I was going through all the international, not just the U.S., PubMed MD things.
Yeah.
PubMed.gov,
right.
And I found out this is really something that's out there. But with my wife, it was interesting because she did it, and I saw the results, and I knew it was beyond my scope a decade before this. Just some things you can't change by adjustments or manipulation, let's say. Let's see, where were we going with this?
Well, how do you feel about it for chiropractors to bring it in-house or something like that?
Sure. Many do, because it's adjunctive therapy that can help with, I had athletes come in, it can do things to increase blood flow and treat joint issues, muscle issues, recovery issues, all kinds of things. Someone is injured before a week before something. I had something with a professional football player recently, and what happened with him, his recovery was better. But I think I'm going off tangent.
No,
but
I don't think so.
So it would come in. Certain people had different issues. Now, in my practice, I kind of had the opposite of, the old let's get you in 3 times a week forever. I tried to keep it, let me treat you chiropractically. If it's outside of my slice of the pizza, I'll work, there's physical therapies, massage therapists, there's nutrition, there's all these other things that work and have a place. And so I kind of tried to build my reputation on being honest and getting people not to be addicted to me, and so that worked for me. Now, back to my wife, I saw what it did, and interestingly enough, I was like, does this have something to do with blood flow? Because I always thought chiropractic was limited because as the spine ages, discs, the blood flow to the discs. That's why we don't have gymnasts that are 40 years old. Your discs kind of get like shoe leather when you get to about 30. A baby can roll down the stairs, get up, and he's fine. The young person, an old person, you got to go to physical therapy because your muscles won't stop hurting. So again, I saw that this was an interest to me because then, blood flow, that, people take vitamins, but if you're not absorbing the vitamins, all kinds of things, foods, if you're not absorbing, even people who take medication, if you're not absorbing. So the blood flow part of it really intrigued me because I think JoAnn probably talked about it. What it does at the cellular level is amazing. It's every cell in your body. It's not just the muscle that's hurting you. It's the cells of your brain. It's the cells of your heart. It's the cells of your lungs. And they have statistics, FDA and scientifically proved percentages of the increase of blood flow, oxygen delivery, all this. So I was intrigued by that. So now I wasn't a symptom-oriented person, so I started using it. And as time went on, and actually I could say months and years went on, I was doing it because I knew it's healthy. It's helping my absorption. It's helping nutrition. It's helping my physical being. I had joint problems, some chronic issues, and I noticed with time that they disappeared. I went from having to stop to run because of bursitis in my hip, and then all of a sudden I got to 5 miles in a couple of years. I didn't know my legs were that strong and my joints were feeling well. I had shoulder issues from sports, and then I was just using the Beamer, and I had no longer had those joint restrictions, and a lot of things like that, and as well as patients. They didn't have chiropractic problems, and people would call me and ask me things, and I'd talk about the Beamer and have JoAnn do a lot of the talking because she's really well trained and knows the research and the numbers and things. I just get back to the functionality of this device. It does what I don't think anybody else can or anything else can, getting the blood flow to the cellular level.
Yeah, well, that sounds great. And I know you had sent me a little video that actually
yes.
the changes. Let me see if I could pull that up.
Okay, yeah, that's actually the doctor that explains about the impact on the blood flow. So I think that's great.
Whoops, I'm getting confused here. I'm getting lost in my. Let me see now.
I see there's some questions too. Does this work for bronchial pruritus?
Yeah, that's not something that I'm familiar with. And I know that I should let people know, just in general, that the FDA is really strict about people making product claims. That something's going to heal a particular condition.
That's right.
So, and they're very nasty about it. If you even hint, they will come after you and they will shut your company down.
Yes.
And you go through millions of dollars worth of, FDA approval gymnastics. You cannot make health claims.
That's correct.
But in general, could you say something about, how it can help? She's saying that itchiness is an issue. down her arms, and that she takes gabapentin. And please go to my website, paintreatmentdirectory.com. I have a lot of information on gabapentin. It is a horrible, horrible drug. The latest information I posted just last night, I believe it was, is that it's been linked to dementia. You increase your chances of getting dementia if you take gabapentin. So, and you don't want to just abruptly get off of it, because that could be dangerous. But this may be a solution. Itching, as I understand it, is actually a kind of low-level pain. Is that your understanding of it?
I am not familiar, so I can't comment about that one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's an unpleasant sensation that is related to your nerves. So it is related to pain. So I think that there may not be specific research about that. And I just want to mention another resource for looking up things. JoAnn had mentioned PubMed, but there's another one. It's an AI platform, and it's much quicker. It's consensus.app. So it's like scientific consensus, consensus.app. And what it does is you just put in a question such as, does PEMF therapy work for your condition?
Yes.
And it will very, very quickly, within a few seconds, give you all the research that's available. Now, if there's nothing available, you may have to go to, does it work for chronic itching problems or something like that? But it's an excellent resource. I just did a research for, does PEMF therapy work for chronic pain? And the research, it brings up studies. It does a little summary if you ask for a synopsis. And then you can click on the individual studies and read them. And I'm just reading that. I thought this was somebody that I knew. I recognize the name, who's posting about this. Are you calling me an idiot? So anyway, it's a great resource. And a lot of times, if you look around the internet, you'll get a lot of different answers. This really looks at, well, what actually does clinical research show? And my assistant in the background just posted the results for that specific search. And you can click on that in the chat if you want to go to it. Oh. So, 2/3 of the studies or so said absolutely yes. All but 6% of the studies said possibly. So that's a pretty strong result.
That's a great resource. I didn't even know about it, so I just learned something from you again.
Yeah, and it's fairly new. I don't know how new, but I use ChatGPT, which is another one that doesn't. You got to be careful with ChatGPT, because if you ask it about research, it'll sometimes make stuff up. But this is another one that was a plugin for ChatGPT that I discovered, and you can go to it just by yourself without going through ChatGPT. As I said, consensus.app, and 20 queries a month are free. If you want to go beyond that, you have to pay like $20 a month or something like that. But it's a phenomenal resource. So I highly recommend it, especially when it's free.
That's great.
So any of the things we talk about, one of the reasons I know about gabapentin and dementia is that I started thinking about, people say they have memory problems and issues. So I just put in a question, does it cause dementia? And got the research that was related to that.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, very good.
So someone is asking how and where how and where can we get in touch for biofeedback? So I do biofeedback as a clinician in my office in the Albany, New York area. If you're not in my area, you can, and my email for that is my name, cindyperlin@gmail.com, or you can go to the paintreatmentdirectory.com website and look me up. Or if you're not in my area, you can look for other biofeedback therapists. We don't have as many listed on the directory as I'd like, but I'm working on that. So I don't know, JoAnn, if this is for you or me. Probably it's for you. How many seconds do you notice help with pain and stiffness?
So I commented a little bit on that before, and that different people get different rates of results. So I personally saw results very, very quickly. Others could take a month, could take 2 months. You know, it really does run the gamut. So the sweet spot seems to be, as far as the data that I saw, between 3 and 5 weeks, that the majority of people are going to notice something significant. Some people notice tiny things right away, you know, like warmth and tingling. We almost always hear, or often I should say, right away, people feel a warmth and a tingling, and that's actually an improvement in their local blood flow. So they're feeling it, you know, the sensation, and they're like, "Ooh, I feel warm." I was like, "That's good. You want that."
Yeah, and you know, blood flow would get you a lot, you know, because it brings more nutrients to your cells. It brings more oxygen to your cells. It reduces inflammation because the inflammation is an accumulation of fluids or toxins or whatever. So just that can make a big change. Just through circulation.
Yeah. How many times a week, she's asking, is recommended? So with the particular device that I use, the best recommendation is to use it twice a day, 8 minutes a day. However, having said that, some practitioners have it in their offices, and some patients use it at their practitioner's office. So if they go a minimum, I would say, of twice a week, really minimum, it will take longer to see results, but you can start getting the benefits of it.
Yeah, yeah. So, and you know, you can see in the background behind JoAnn is a picture of the BEMA. It's a mat. You can use it on the floor. You can use it in the chair. And I assume you can use it on your bed.
Yes, yes. Actually, the new one that we have now, you can order a few different configurations. The best one would be the one that has a 6-foot long mat for your bed. It's very thin. You don't even feel it, as well as a 6-foot long mat that's a little stiffer and thicker. It's perfect for a chair or a couch. It's going to hold up. It won't slouch down, so it'll keep its shape while you're sitting in your favorite rocker and, you know, watch your TV, and you just push. I actually have, I just want you to see how small it is. Now, maybe you can, oh, good. Like right there, you can kind of see how small it is. I don't know if it's going to help, you know, with the background, it's hard to see, but there you go. You kind of get the idea. It's about the size of a hand.
Put it in front of your face.
Tablet. Oh, you're right. So there it is.
Yeah. So, so that's folded up, or that's the whole thing?
This is the brain.
Oh, that's
the brain. Yeah, that's the brain that you turn on, and you'll get the choices on the screen in about 15 seconds or so as to what you want to do with it. Yeah, you want to hold it? I'll put it in front of my husband's face. He's prettier, but that's okay. Right in front of your face.
Those backgrounds can sometimes be very weird. We lost you completely.
Yeah. There we go. So this is this is as difficult as it gets. There you are. You have 4 choices. It's so simple, and you just pick whether you're going to go into an intensity mode or the special mode or light. Actually, I didn't talk about the light, but there's a light mode too. And for anybody who's interested in skin, things that happen on the skin. I'm not allowed to mention disease states, right? We talked about that. But if you have a skin issue, the light could be something very beneficial for you to use. Then let's see if we can see this. This is the B pad. You can't really see it too good, but I'm gonna unfold it and you get an idea. There we go. Put it around my head. So that's how big it is.
Yeah.
And this is awesome. This thing is flexible. It's super lightweight. You could wrap it around your knees, your feet, your shoulders, your neck, whatever ails you. And that could be used at the same time that you're using the full body mat. So the smaller one that I just showed you is good for kind of like maybe your device. It's good for a localized, intense application, whereas the full body mat is really what's helping the circulatory system head to toe with the oxygenation and getting the blood flow everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you need the full body mat too. I wouldn't substitute one for the other, but
So someone's asking about a pacemaker, and I think that is a contraindication, isn't it, to the Beamer?
Great question. So if you can get a hold of the last model Beamer, it is not, but the new one, which is a little more, I don't want to say powerful because it isn't, but that has more coils, and the coils have a different field that it produces. So the brand new one that we just came out with about a year ago, the new model, it is a contraindication. However, the old model isn't. So Ruth, I know who you are. If you want to contact me later, we can talk about getting you a less expensive older model.
Oh, really? So the older one is okay with implants?
Yeah, you would want to share that information with your doctor just to get the approval. It's always recommended. I want to make sure that gets taped. It's always recommended, right, that you talk to your physician before you start something new. So we have information that we would give to, let's say, the patient to give to the physician to make sure the physician says, oh, sure, okay, that's just fine. What else was I going to say? It is possible, since it is FDA Class 2 cleared, and this is really, really a big deal, it is possible now that insurance could pay for a portion of it. It could go up to, I've heard somebody who got 70% covered. I don't know if that's how standard or typical that is, and I don't know how many insurance companies will do this, but I do know that there is a process by which you can find out from your insurance company whether they will cover some X portion percentage of it. So that's a real big plus for the FDA Class 2 clearance.
So that would be called, if you want to find out ahead of time rather than buy it and submit the receipt and be surprised, there's something called a predetermination, where you can ask your insurance company ahead of time whether or not they will cover it.
Yeah.
And someone is now asking about the prices. Do you want to talk about that at all?
I'd prefer not to, but yeah, you go on my website, Diane Thorpe, if you want to contact me. Did you put my website and contact information in here? I can't type, so if you could put it in the comments, or just, you see my name on the screen at gmail.com. So that's the best way to get a hold of me. There's no E in JoAnn. So just JoAnn Zymler at gmail.com. Go ahead and send me an email, everybody who has a question, and I'd be super happy. Oh, there, you put an E on my name. I'd be super happy to help you out with whatever you would like to know. And my phone number, thank you for sharing that too. You can text me.
And as far as the smaller, less expensive device I was talking about, the Oscar Pulse, if you could post the information up about that, Charlena. Now, this company, I used to have the device on my website, but they made some changes to their distribution that they only sell through doctors, or they can sell through my website, but I'm not allowed to advertise it. So if you call them, go to their website, get the number, call them, and give them that code, it'll get you 20% off. And I think the device now, that one sells for about $400. So, and I've had people use that. Again, it's got a 18-inch radius of effect. So like if you want to get your arms, you could put it on your chest, I suppose, or you can wrap it around a joint. So that's another alternative that, I'm really drawn to the idea of a whole body therapy, because like a lot of natural approaches, you not only get healing of what your symptoms are, but you get whole body wellness from it. There's so many, what I call this, like the side effects of biofeedback, for instance. You may be coming for pain, but you also reduce anxiety, get better sleep, improve your just overall wellness, just because
Absolutely.
you're changing something about your body that's really, the root issue behind everything.
Exactly.
You change your nutrition because, there is a role for nutrition and pain conditions, but then you improve your heart, you improve your immune system, so these are global effects that you get from a device like the Beamer. So, it's even when you're feeling better with whatever you were treating, like JoAnn is, you keep using it just because it's good for you. It's
Right.
basically anti-aging.
It is. And thank you for saying that. Yes, absolutely. Many people are using it for that purpose, anti-aging. Longevity is actually the new theme for Beamer this year. So there's going to be various longevity uh, events being held around. And if anybody wants information on that, I could give you that too. But I love what you just said. My husband is very not symptomatic oriented, and he tells people all the time, what do you tell them? Put you on the spot. Put you on the
Uh,
spot.
well, it just limits when you're talking about symptoms. That's just limits the practicality and the usefulness of this therapy, and that's why I don't even go there. And so the people that I've talked to, as we talk with all these different issues, it's the same thing as you said. One, if you just put something on your shoulder, that may take your shoulder, but here I used it on my whole body and it took care of my things I thought were not going to improve, because I didn't know the science and the results of a steady flow of increased oxygen.
Yeah,
Blood.
another recent blog that I wrote was about investing in your health. And, I know when I was younger, I was only 25, and I was going to graduate school for social work. And basically, my life would have been over at that point. I got better because I discovered an alternative therapy that helped me, and I made that investment. And, I've had decades, I'm 71 now. I've had decades of being
That's
able
great.
to have an income, and, the difference is just really important to recognize. So whatever stage of life you are, if you want to stay productive and active and not spend all of your money on conventional medical treatment, and feel lousy because they just treat the symptoms usually and not the underlying cause. This is these kinds of therapies. And, I recommend many other therapies besides PEMF. And if anyone's not familiar with the pain treatment directory, again, it's paintreatmentdirectory.com. You can see that there's many, many, many things that are helpful. And that's where I recommend putting your money and your time rather than medications that just have so many negative side effects, where the natural stuff, as I said, has only positive side effects. So,
Absolutely.
any more questions?
Do we have time to show that little video?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, great.
And bring it up on the screen. I
Okay.
keep doing this backwards. First, I have to do this to share my screen. And then, let's see, I think this is the one. I'm going to do this and start it at the beginning.
we're looking at here is an individual with chronic stress. It is a male, and this microscopic area was filmed. You'll also notice, and on the venular side, you'll see very few white blood cells on the edges. You'll look rolling around. So that means the immune system is also not well activated. You're going to see here, there's also diminished vasomotion. There's no movement you would see on the left side of that arterial. I haven't seen any. There's restricted blood flow. Like I said, the white blood cells aren't circulating, and this equals poor perfusion. Too much of this going on, you're going to feel tired. You're going to feel sluggishness. So I want to take a look at what happens after the beamer was turned on after 3 minutes of treatment, or for the non-practitioners and clinicians out there, 3 minutes after application. As this comes to your screen, you'll start to already see the increase in flow, the increase in movement. You can see the capillary open up. There's increased arterial flow. And what you can also see is increased venular flow returning back to the lungs to recycle, to bring out, and to remove those metabolic wastes that the body has created. You'll also see, after 6 minutes of stimulation here, the increase in the white blood cells. Pay special attention on the right side of the white blood cells rolling through the endothelial or over the endothelial walls. That's like cops being out on the street protecting you. That's your mobile immune system. And when your blood's moving, your immune system working. And if your blood is not functionally moving, you can't possibly have a functional immune system. Therefore, you're not protected. Think about it this way. If you're perfused, you're protected. Support yourself, support your immune system through healthy blood flow. And we're going to see also when the beamer was shut off after 8 minutes, they followed and did a 30-minute video and looked at the lingering or the ongoing effects of beamer after 30 minutes. So now this person's been off the beamer for 22 minutes. And look at what we're looking at. This effect can last up through 18 hours and maybe more, and for some less rather. But the fact is, beamer is incredible at supporting your blood flow.
So going back to our original screen. So, one of the things that popped into my mind about this is that, you can see that after just a few minutes, there was an effect that was very dramatic. But as JoAnn alluded to earlier, sometimes it could take a while to actually feel better. So what can help, or what happens is that you get the increased circulation, but the actual healing may take a while. So
there's an immediate effect, an immediate benefit, as well as a cumulative effect. So over time, I like to use an illustration of, a very complex, large pipe structure. Maybe you're in a tremendously large apartment building, and somewhere in that entire pipe structure, there are clogs, and the clogs are getting worse over time. If you pour Drano, if you're in the top floor and you pour Drano, it's gonna be a long time before the liquid settles upon where those clogs are. Sure, you're going to get some improvement here and there, but it's going to take time before you get that system flushing out properly. And it's really very similar with our circulatory system too.
Except not as toxic as Drano.
Definitely.
Yeah. Somehow there might be a better example than Drano. I don't know.
I'll try to think of one. So, Laura Stewart is asking about lymphedema. I actually did quite a lot of research. Again, we're not going to talk about disease states, but I have a cousin who has some similar issue. I did a lot of research. So Laura, if you want to get to me later, we can chat about what I found that might be helpful for you.
And that is, that's like a restriction in terms of an accumulation of fluids because your lymph system isn't working properly. Is that what that is?
Yep.
So, when you're improving blood flow, the
lymphatic system is.
So it's logical it would affect the lymph system.
Exactly.
signaling through nerves, all kinds of things. If you're just improving, the movement, the flow of things through the body, that would make a difference. So, yeah, so it's great stuff. And I don't have a Beamer yet myself. I'm hoping to get one soon.
We have to meet up.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to meet up. You're not that far from me. We'll figure
But
it out.
even with that little device, the Oscar, I have used that like for neck pain or low back pain or whatever's going on with me, and I notice a difference. And I've had people who come to my office with knee pain, and I have them put that on their knee. They limp in, and I
Yeah.
and then they walk out like normal sometimes.
Isn't that amazing? I just love it.
Just a little local device. So, there's it's a good technology. It's not the only thing, but I think it's worth looking into. And if you're able to, I know not everybody can access the money, but, if you're able to invest in this kind of thing, I think it's one of those things that can be really, really helpful.
Yes.
So, anybody else have any questions before we end? And maybe we can put up my contact information also. Yeah, so I don't know if everybody could see that comment from Ruth Sisk. I guess you have more than one Ruth on here. From what I understand, this would improve the function of our cells on a molecular level. So it would help with removing toxins, relieving pain, having better energy, and recovering better. Is that
Ruth,
right?
I'd say you got it right.
Yeah, because, we've been talking about circulation, but it actually affects the cells themselves, the individual cells, and has a, positive impact on that. So, for anybody who's still with us, my email is on here too now, info@paintreatmentdirectory.com. So if we have no more, let's see, is it better to use before or after exercise?
Yes. I'm sorry, I took that answer from a friend of mine who always used to do that to me. So it really depends what you want to do. If you want to perform better, let's say maybe you're in a competition or something, you would want to use it at a higher intensity to warm up. Essentially, it's warming up your muscles and your body, getting ready for performance. And then afterward, if you used it afterward, it would speed up your recovery. So we have lots of athletes. So you couldn't even name all the athletes. The Olympics are going on. There's Beamers over there at the Olympics, many of them. So professional athletes use it. Regular old weekend warriors use it. People that hit the gym every now and then use it. So it's beneficial. It really depends what you want to do. Good question, Shirley.
Yeah, I was just going to postulate that people are using it at the Olympics. When you have these elite athletes who just, they want to be at the peak of their game, especially when they're competing in these major events, you can bet they're using all of these different therapies.
Yes, they are.
So is there a Beamer official website? So
yes, we gave that before. If you go to Pam, if you go to jpz.beamergroup.com, you'll find my website, which has the same information as, like, say, the generic website would. So same exact information. JP, my middle initial is P, so it's JoAnn P. Zymler. But jpz.beamergroup.com. There it is. Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I have to thank my assistant who's in the background, Charlene.
Thank you, assistant in the background.
She's been helping us with posting things as we go along. So, yeah. So, elite athletes or people who just want to be healthy are using these kinds of things.
Exactly.
As, to boost their performance and stay healthy. And also, athletes get injured all the time. And so these kinds of technologies really help with recovery. You recover faster from an injury if you use these. So, I've been focusing a lot with my website on chronic pain, but I'm starting to also add in information about, if you have an injury, how could you most completely and quickly recover? Because, what happens is people get injured, and instead of using these kinds of therapies, they get put on opioids. And opioids actually slow healing. Besides the whole issue about addiction, they actually make you more sensitive to pain because your body has natural opioids. If you take opioids, your body produces less of them. And then, the slow recovery, if you take opioids, you're more likely to have chronic pain. I got tripped 5 or 6 years ago and broke my ankle and had to have surgery. And there was no way I was going to take opioids. And the biggest thing I was worried about taking them is, you're more likely to develop chronic pain after an injury. So I wasn't going to take that chance, even taking them for a day, because I wanted to completely recover. So, these kinds of technologies, and, I don't want to say it's the only one, it's, one of the more powerful ones. These can really help. Even if you have chronic pain and then on top of that you get an injury, it's helpful to have this around. So,
Absolutely.
so are there any more questions? And if there aren't, we'll end for tonight. Thank you all for coming. And
Yes, thank you for everybody who joined, and thank you, Cindy. Wow.
And, oh, you're welcome. So I just want to mention that next Monday night at the same time, I'm going to start posting about it. We're doing another Facebook Live about the most powerful herb for pain relief. And if you wonder why we're being mysterious about it, one of the major issues is that Facebook doesn't like people to promote this particular herb. You're not allowed to advertise it on Facebook. They'll shut down your account if you do. So I'm very careful not to give the name, but it's well worth your while to tune in, because it's, some herbs, it takes a while for them to take an effect. This is something that's an immediate pain reliever. So again, thank you.
I'm intrigued. Maybe I'll join.
Yeah, sounds good. So thank you, JoAnn. Thank you, Dr. Bill. Everybody have a terrific night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.